Hi, this is Sarah from Saki Media, and I just thought I would take the time to record a quick video. And in this video, we're going to talk about structuring your sentences. I never really paid attention much to sentences until I started blogging because writing offline and writing online are two very different things. And in order to capture your attention of your reader, you need to write in a manner that hooks them straight in. So you go through the snappy headline and you go through the phases of creating, adding numbers, subtracting numbers, and adding in stop words, subtracting stop words, and so on. But the next thing, after they've clicked through, they have to read your sentences and they have to be short enough to pull the reader in. And while many writers enjoy writing, one of the biggest traps they fall into, and I'm guilty of this myself, is not structuring the sentences correctly. It is just so easy to let the words pour out of your head, down your arm, across the keyboard, and onto the page. And this can leave you with sentences that in reality shouldn't be sentences at all, they should be paragraphs. And there's nothing really wrong with this style of writing. But if you want to get better with your writing and become stronger in your content creation, then you've got to go back and you've got to edit the work. And that's the really tough part. Sentence structure and length depends on the type of content that you're writing. So if you're writing a novel, your words and sentences can be flowery or Arabic in style and a little longer. On the other hand, if you're writing a short article, the sentences need to be short, concise, to the point. And short sentences lure the reader through the content faster than longer sentences. A good rule of thumb, if you're doing any kind of content creation that involves writing and lots of structuring of sentences, is to read your work out loud. And if you pay close attention to each sentence and note the places where you run out of breath, that's where your full stop should be. And that's how you know your sentences are just too long, and it's what's known as a run-on sentence. Now, this isn't a really major grammatical sin, I've got to be honest, because if it was, nobody would ever read Charles Dickens, who I believe is the king of run-on sentences. But it does make it tougher because when people read, they're kind of sounding their words out in their head and they're looking for the pauses and the full stops. And your run-on sentences, it makes it hard work for your reader. The next thing you need to do is highlight any sentence that's too long and see how you can break it down. You can try and keep thoughts and points into one sentence, and then if it's really can't be broken down into one sentence or shorter sentences, try adding commas to it and other words like connectors like because and but. But if your sentence turns into a three-line paragraph, then you really should reword it or rewrite it entirely. It's up to you. Now, it does take time to rewrite and reword sentences, but it is well worth the effort. If the reader begins to stumble over your words, then they have to go back and start again, and they give up. Why take that chance? And if you're honest with yourself, you've probably done this when reading a book. The Game of Thrones springs to mind. I can remember reading the first two-thirds of that book and thinking to myself, my gosh, I wish something would happen. And then it did. They chopped off Ned Stark's head. And I'm sorry if that's a bit of a spoiler, but you really should be reading these books. And the thing is, if you can't understand what the writer is attempting to explain, it is easier to give up than it is to keep going back and rereading and rereading. And as much as we love George R.R. Martin, he does get us with his books. Now, we don't want our readers giving up on us, so we need to get into the practice of writing well many moons prior to publication, and that gives you plenty of time to write your content, let it sit for a day, then edit and then proofread it. And if you've got an editorial calendar, you know what's coming up in the future, so you can write your summer content in February, you can write your Christmas content in September, and you can sit there and let it percolate and then go back and edit it and proofread it and restructure your sentences if need be. And if you're in the habit of writing your blog posts inside WordPress, like I am, you need to save it as a draft before you publish. Or you may want to get into the habit of writing your posts on your computer and then saving them in a file. And that can save you a lot of time. And then if you lose your website or it gets hacked, you've still got your content and you can still upload it. It's a kind of pain in the backside backup, but it's still doable. Now, the reason that I'm telling you this is when you start practicing and being conscious with your writing and being there and structuring your sentences, you can actually go back and see how you've grown as a writer from when you did something that was kind of long and Charles Dickens, and then you can see how you've become tidier and concise. And if you don't save the work and save in your drafts, you can't ever see the improvement. And I think it's something that you should have a look at and go back and look over older content and see how much you've grown in your writing. When I looked at my first blog post, that was 50 words, and now you can't shut me up after around 600. Heck, you can't shut me up after 6 minutes of video. So keeping your content and looking at how you've grown is a really great thing to do. Now, this video is part of my promotional content for my wonderful course that's coming up, Content Marketing from Scratch. And if you'd like to see more, please subscribe to my newsletter, because they're the people that are going to get the best deal when Content Marketing from Scratch is released. Speak soon. Bye.